I used to ask myself why so many married men just seem to give their power and emotions over to women in their relationships. And I used to wonder why so many men, specifically married men, tiptoed around a woman's emotions. It's like the woman just gives this guy a look like she's disagreeing, and all of a sudden he is like, all right, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble. I don't want to start a fight. I never understood that. And this seems to be coming up quite a bit lately, not just within people's relationships, but also I've had consultations with people that have talked about this kind of thing. And I'm not necessarily trying to point anybody out here or do anything like that, but I think it's going to be something to talk about. And I think a lot of this has to do with men giving up their strength to women. And it's like, I look at a lot of these relationships out here and I think to myself, it sure seems like the guy has completely given his balls over to this woman, and her, like, it's in her purse. His balls are in her purse. That's what it seems like. And sure enough, that's exactly what it is, metaphorically speaking. And this is something that a lot of married men seem to have to go through. And one of the reasons why I think it's going to be insane to get married legally in regard to the state being involved in your relationship nowadays, I think it's absolutely nuts. I've already got too much of everybody else. This world is hard enough, okay? And I don't need the government involved in my relationships any more than they already are. And so what I seem to think that a lot of it's not even what I seem to think, it's that I know that what it is that is happening is that there's a game being played in marriage right now, and we can't really name the game, because once we name the game, then, well, that's where all of the problems start to reveal themselves. But then once we have the problems reveal themselves, that means that we're going to have to solve the problem. But also, nobody wants to really solve the problem and name the game that we're playing. And what I think the game is, and what I'm going to name this game, is the principle of infallibility. It's you are, as a woman, completely infallible when it comes to what happens in your relationship during the marriage. And it seems as though, now this does seem like the case, I can't say this for sure, but it's convincing enough to me to see it this way, that it's almost as if men set it up in our judicial system and our society for the women to have this safety net in relationships. And now, of course, there's a lot of pressure on women as well. Don't get me wrong, don't get it twisted. There's a lot of pressure on women, but there is an overwhelming amount of pressure, more so on men, to perform and to provide and to protect, etc. And hell will come to he who does not abide by the principle of infallibility. And the principle is only applied to one gender in many cases. And so this is seeming to be the name of the game, right? This is the name of the game. What do we do about this? And how do we go forward from here? I really don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have the answers necessarily, but I will sit here and tell you that this is the name of the game. And a lot of men know it, but they can't say anything about it. Because once you say something about it, it's where the emotions of women come into play. And so it seems like, again, this is what it seems to be. I'm not fully convinced that this is the case, but this is the most convincing that I can see what's going on. is that because women seem to have the ability to opt out of a relationship at any single point in time with no repercussions, it's like women are more and more liberal in their ways of life. And I don't necessarily mean liberal in the sense of political, but I kind of do at the same time. But they're becoming more and more politically liberal and spiritually liberal, quote unquote, whereas the men are becoming more and more conservative and more disinterested in relationships. And women are also becoming disinterested in relationships, but they're also becoming more increasingly dissatisfied with the way that their lives are heading and panning out. I don't think that's a coincidence, because men, the suicide rate for men has always been higher. In fact, right now it's 3 times higher around the globe compared to women. And nobody seems to really notice or care. And the people that do notice or care, when they say stuff like that, it's like, oh, but the women, like, it's like, I remember being at a Halloween party, and this was at a job that I used to have, and I was at a Halloween party, and I brought up, well, somebody else brought up the whole suicide thing, and how women are going through a hard time with suicide now, and with depression, anxiety, pills, and etc. And I said, well, men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than women all around the world. Oh yeah, but women have it way harder though. When they are suicidal, it's way harder. Yeah, but they're not actually deleting themselves. The men are actually deleting themselves, okay? And this is exactly why I think so many men are frustrated in today's day and age, and so many men just are checking out and opting out. It's because if they cannot tiptoe around the women's emotions, they know that they're screwed in the judicial system. They know that they're going to get half of their stuff taken away, or like they've just given away their power, or they don't think that, you know, well, I've already started a family with this person, I've already done this with this person, you know, I can't just leave, right? It's like, well, do you want to stay and be miserable? Like, now, I'm not advocating for divorce by any means. I think you should, if you have a child with somebody, you should make it work to the best of your ability no matter what. But if you're living in hell, like, what are you doing, man? Like, what are you doing? I don't get it. Like, I sincerely don't understand why anybody would want to live like that. Why would you want to live like that? And you know, the thing is a lot of men will say, well, it's, you know, sacrifice for your family, it's your duty. Okay, sure. But at what point, how much of yourself do you necessarily need to sacrifice in order to demonstrate your duty of love? Like, I guess that's kind of a philosophical question, but it's also kind of a practical question. Okay, how much of yourself do you really need to sacrifice to get the kind of life that you know that you can get? Like, if you lost respect in a relationship with a woman, I guarantee it's your fault. Because women will be forced to respect you if you act in a certain way. And it's not necessarily because you're making them, you're not forcing it on them necessarily, but your actions will demonstrate that. If she does not respect you, if she's not on her best behavior, you're out. You're out. And this is one of the reasons why I've seen so many married men, when they are later into their marriages, I mean, they're 15, 30 plus years into their marriage, and they're finally getting to the point to where they're like, you know, I guess I put up with this. I guess I put up with it this long. That's your mindset? Well, no wonder your woman doesn't respect you. And I don't mean to be rude, but no wonder your woman doesn't respect you. Okay? You don't even respect yourself. And this is why suicide rates, I think, are higher for men, is because they don't know anything else. They don't know any other route. And I'm not saying it's because of marriage. I'm just saying that we live in a world where men are constantly burdened by bearing the burden of performance. And even if they do bear that burden and they do perform well, there's no guarantee that they're going to be on the other side with a happy family. And of course, there's no guarantee for women either, but there's more of a option for women to have one. Let's look at it this way, okay? There's a woman at the gym right now who's probably in her late 40s, early 50s, and she has been trying to pursue me very hard. Okay, she's been very, very direct. Let's just leave it at that. And she's a relatively attractive woman. Like, she is not even just for her age. She's just an attractive woman. Now, I don't know if she's, I don't know if she's married, but I do know that she has kids. And yet she's very, very open about her attraction to me, and she's been treating me like a king. And I'm not trying to talk to her. I'm kind and cordial if she approaches me or tries to communicate with me. I'm kind and cordial, but I'm not going out of my way to talk, and I'm keeping it professional. I'm keeping it short, sweet, direct, to the point. And yet this woman is treating me better than any other 20 to 25-year-old woman I've come across. Like, she's actually feminine. She's actually, like, I don't know her situation. I don't know. But it just simply doesn't make sense for me to get involved with a woman like that, right? It doesn't make sense to me, because I'm a man that's trying to build a legacy. I'm a man that's trying to build a family. And I simply can't, even if I was wanting to, which I don't. Like, is she attractive? Yes, but I don't want to go through with it. So even if I was going through with it, where would it really get me? Right? It wouldn't really get me anywhere. And so what I'm telling you this is because this is the first woman that I've come across in a long time that has treated me the way I know I deserve to be treated. And I have to walk away from her. Like, I have to walk away. But with all these other women, like, I have no problem walking away, even though I'd love to be with them. But this woman knows, this 40, 50-year-old woman knows that I can walk away. She knows it. Like, obviously she knows. And she respects it. And so she's on her best behavior. She's on her P's and Q's. She's doing, like, yeah, it's just super crazy stuff that she's willing to try to, like, get me involved with her in her life. But anyway, that's beside the point. The point is that I have to walk away from a woman that's treating me really, really well. And it's because there's a incompatibility issue. I'm willing to accept the incompatibility. A lot of men are not willing to accept incompatibility. If you cannot accept incompatibility, you might have chemistry, but if you cannot accept the incompatibility problems, then you're bound to make decisions that are going to be counterintuitive and that are going to be destructive to your mindset and to your life as a whole. And so you've got to be very careful and watchful as you go through life and as you interact with women like this. Because again, you don't want to be too late. You don't want to be 15, 30 years into the marriage and realize, wow, she's kind of a dominant B word. You don't want to be doing that. So get yourself right now, so you don't have to be like these married men that are tiptoeing around these women. Because if you have to tiptoe around a woman, like if you're intimidated by beauty or anything like that, you know, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're cooked already before you're even in the pan, man. You're boiled before that water is even hot. So make sure you've got yourself right. Make sure that you have self-respect before getting into marriage. If you are going to go into marriage, if you're going to get married, at least have the self-respect and awareness to do so and to choose the right person. Now, me personally, I'm making it very clear to women that are trying to pursue me that I'm not interested in flings, but I'm not necessarily interested in institutionalized marriage at this point, because I've seen what happens to men, and I've seen what happens and how women behave after the marriage happens. It's incredible. It's like, as soon as the woman gets commitment from the man and she knows it, she automatically like looks for the next best thing sometimes. Now, a good woman is not necessarily going to do that, so that's another thing to look out for, but it's few and far in between nowadays. Anyways, I hope this message was useful and insightful, and until next time, peace be with you.